Okay, here we have right triangle trig introduction, basically. Part B. Example 3, your turn. Hopefully you have tried these now and you're going to look and see how I worked them out, and hopefully we did the same thing. First off, A, it says find the length, and the length it's asking for is DF. So if you didn't realize that, you can go ahead and pause now and try it yourself. Again, I'm going to use the angle that they gave me. It's just the most convenient thing to do, and that's D. So this would be the hypotenuse. This would be the adjacent, because remember, the hypotenuse and the adjacent meet at the angle you're doing. Whatever angle you're using, the hypotenuse and the adjacent meet there. That makes this the opposite. So I'm not using the adjacent at all. I'm using opposite and hypotenuse, and that's the sine. So sine of angle D, which is 51 degrees, equals opposite, which is 17, over hypotenuse, which is x. I'm going to put this over 1, and then I'm going to cross multiply. X times sine of 51 equals 17 times 1. 17 times 1 is just 17. X is not alone. Please notice I have not picked up my calculator. I cannot emphasize that enough. There's no point in picking up your calculator until we have x alone. Now x is alone, and I'm going to divide 17 divided by sine 51. Okay, that's going to be 21.87. Notice that we're just using the sine button. We're not using inverse sine, just plain sine. So I'm getting 21.87 as my answer. And I'm just going to write it right here. DF equals 21.87. Next, looking for ST. And I'm going to do it using angle T. So that makes, here's the hypotenuse, it's across from the right angle, and here's the adjacent. That makes this the opposite. I don't need the opposite, and I don't have the opposite, so I'm not going to use it. I'm going to use the adjacent and the hypotenuse. We only use two at a time. Adjacent and hypotenuse is cosine. So my equation will be cosine 42 degrees equals adjacent, which is x, over hypotenuse, which is 9.5. Now I'm going to cross multiply. That will give me cosine 42 times 9.5 equals x, and this is when I go to my calculator, only when x is already alone. So cosine 42, right now, this is the moment of truth. Close your parentheses or press enter. Cosine 42 times 9.5. Don't just do cosine of 42 and then type times 9.5, because it'll do cosine of like 380 something, whatever 42 times 9.5 is. Okay, 7.059, so 7.06. I'm going to go ahead and write it the same way I did over here. Excuse me. ST equals 7.06, and I am writing equals. Technically, I should be writing is approximately equal to. All right, part C. We have a side that's 12 feet, and we are asked for side BC, and I'm going to start with angle B. So here's the hypotenuse. Looks like I'm not going to use the hypotenuse this time. This is the adjacent, so this is the opposite. So I'm going to use tangent. The reason I'm using tangent is because opposite and adjacent is the definition of tangent, and those are the two I'm working with. So tangent of angle B, which is 18 degrees, equals opposite, which is 12, over adjacent, which is x. And I went ahead and put it over 1. Cross multiply. X times tangent 18 equals 12, and then x is still not alone, so I got to keep going until it is. I divided both sides by tan 18, and this is when I put it in the calculator. 12 divided by tan 18. And I get 36.932, so 36.93. So BC is about 36.93. Last but not least, example 3, your turn, D. We have JL is what we want to find. We have KL. We're working with from the perspective of angle K. So this is the hypotenuse down here. This is the adjacent, and this is the opposite. Remember that the angle that you're working with is where the hypotenuse and the adjacent meet. Hypotenuse and adjacent meet at the angle you're working with. The hypotenuse is always right across from the right angle symbol. It's almost like the right angle symbol points to the hypotenuse. Notice that we're never going to be working with the right angle. You only work with the acute angles on this. Okay, so let's see. I'm using opposite and hypotenuse.
Campbell, please report to your mother's
So that would be sine. Sine of 27 equals opposite over hypotenuse. That's how I set it up. I'm going to cross multiply. Sine of 27 times 13.6 equals x times 1. That's just x. Sine of 27 times 13.6. Please notice that I put parentheses after the 27. And I get 6.17. If I did not put the parentheses, I would not have gotten the right answer. Okay, 6.17 is my x, which is the length of JL. And those are my examples here. So that was part B of our notes sheet. And now we're getting into the homework problems next. So look for the homework problems video.